Good morning, evening, or afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back for the second installment of the Average Army Beginning Streamer Guide for Twitch. Now, we will be concentrating today in Streamlabs OBS on cameras. A lot of this will go over into other programs as well, so if you're not using Streamlabs OBS, then you can still watch this video and it'll still help you, I think. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a source here in order to create a camera source. So we're just going to go to video capture device and hit add source. So this will bring this little page up right here. We can name it whatever we want to. So let's name this camera and hit enter. Well, you don't have to hit enter, sorry. Hit add new source. So this brings up your camera here. Now, if you have more than one camera, they'll be listed in here. So you want to choose through that, and then leave the FPS at default for now. You can edit that later. If you want a crisper picture, you can go up to a higher resolution. That's all up to personal preference. Most cameras, especially if you get the one that I'm going to recommend, then I would not say to do anything. So notice how if you click and drag, you can move this around. I'm going to move mine down to about right here because that's usually where I keep it for my games. Now, here's the number one thing. I know a couple people who have little boxes around their faces. I'm not going to say what I'm doing here, but I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. I know a couple people who have something going like this. And they've got decent cameras too. And it's because they don't want to take up a lot of screen real estate. Resizing is not a good idea, or like flipping, or that would be called cropping, is not a good idea. That's not how you want to do it. So basically, I'm going to bring this all the way back out to the max. And then I'm going to show you how you want to resize your camera. You do not want to crop your camera to start with. You want to crop your camera later. So if you take and you mouse over the corners here, or this box here, you're going to notice that your mouse cursor changes. Well, then you can just resize. So you click here and drag. That's how you want to resize your camera. That resizes your entire picture and it keeps your aspect ratio the same. So that's how to resize the camera. Do not crop until now. Now you notice how if I look directly at the camera, I am not really centered in the camera, right? And if I am, there's a lot of room on the side of me. We can get rid of that by holding Alt and dragging the same way we just did, but on the sides. And there's way too much room up on top of the camera, that sort of thing. So that's pretty good for me for now, I think. Just dragging a little bit of the camera out or off the frame. Or if there's something that you want to hide behind you or whatever, you can do that. Now, I don't recommend, use your standard head movement here. Make sure you're going to stay on frame. Let me bring this down just a tad, because my head's a little high up there. Okay, that should be good. Now, if you move forward, you're going to be a little bit bigger on the frame, but if you move back, okay, you're going to be smaller. So think about things like that as you're doing your placement. Try to keep it where your face stays on. I have a habit of leaning forward too much and it gets too big, but I'm going to work on that later. So basically, that's set up now. And next thing we want to worry about is the green screen here. The green screen, you can get rid of all of that. So the reason for a green screen, before we do that though, actually I want to get into a conversation about camera selections. The camera selection that you want is a Logitech C920. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, well, that's kind of expensive for a beginner setup, but it's only like $50 US. What, like 40 something pounds EU? I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's about the same price. Or I'm not really 100. Like I said, I'm not an economist, so I don't know what the exchange rates are. However, if you're in a pinch, get something like this. This is a Logitech C270. This is what I used to start with. It was like a $20 setup. It was a 720p. As long as it's 720p, it'll be decent to start with. You always want to shoot for a C920 though. You don't really ever need to go over a C920. I'm pretty sure even Ninja, the #1 streamer on the planet right now, still uses at least for in-house streaming. I'm pretty sure he still uses the C920. They're worth their weight in gold. Don't get anything higher than that. They might try to sell you something higher. Every bit of the rest of the stuff is useless for streaming. 1080p, 30 frames per second is all you need. Plain and simple. You're going to have a nice, crisp, clear picture because, I mean, you're never going to stream anything over 1080p anyway. And at the beginning, you're not going to be streaming over 720p. So 1080p input resolution is much better. But I do recommend at least getting the C920 as soon as possible. That should be, if you're looking to upgrade your system at all, that should be your first upgrade. Second upgrade should be lighting, obviously, and maybe a microphone. Speaking of which, let me get my microphone a little closer here because I noticed that I'm not in the right. Okay, there we go. That should sound better. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to get rid of the green back here. You don't necessarily have to do this if you're not using a green screen, but I'm going to teach you how anyway. So all you have to do for green screen, chroma key, whatever you want to call it, like this behind me is a little like $8 sheet that I bought from Walmart. It's just a little cloth. It's a like a lime green cloth. I bought that from Walmart for like $8. It's definitely nothing super expensive. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go to filters. You see the green behind me, and we're going to use what's called a chroma key. Color key does about the same thing as chroma key. It's just not as effective at it, so I don't really use it. I use chroma key instead. Chroma key is what Hollywood uses as well. Okay, so we're going to back everything down here. You notice how it says green. We're going to do something a little different here. Now, you see this green right here. If we go to custom, that's the green that it was using for the green key. That is not the same color as that. So we can get it a little bit cleaner if we go closer to that color. You look at this color down here, it's a little bit closer to the color that I've got up here. So I'm going to hit that and then kind of mess around with it a little bit until I start seeing a little bit of this little graininess going on in the background. I'm not sure if you can see that on the video or not, but there is some graininess going on. So you kind of just click around until you see the most graininess you can get in the background, because that's actually showing you that you've got colors that are on your screen. Now, if you're using OBS Studio Classic, it is a little easier to do this. And I had it to start with too. Okay, so there's a trick we can do. We can change this to 2. And we can scroll down a little bit and change the smoothness to about 3. And now we're going to get a little bit wider selection on the graininess. So we can get a little bit closer. Let me find around where it was. I think it was up in this area a little bit. You can bring this up just a tad if you want to. So now you see some graininess coming in. So we're going to go with about a 4 grainy, or 4 similarity to start with. You just want to back it down as much as you can while still getting stuff. What we're trying to do is find a color that takes off more of the screen, the maximum amount that we can pull off. There's a reason for this. This is going to clean it up in the long run. This is how you get a nice clean green screen picture. So you just find one where you've got more than just a couple little splotches there. I had found one, but I lost it, and I figured I could get it better. We seem to be around in this area here somewhere. Okay, that's probably about the best I'm going to get right now. Okay, so now that we've actually got some of this missing, that tells us we've got one of the key colors inside. Now all we have to do is drag up the similarity. You see what happens when you drag up the similarity? It basically widens the selection on that color wheel up there. So we're going to drag it up until all of that's gone. You notice how we got this little green line around us? We're about to get rid of that. That's what the smoothness is for. So if you do the smoothness and you bring that up a little bit, it's kind of going to feather that transparency effect. Okay, so now we've got that. Now I've got this little green line around here. You can get rid of that as well if you use color key or key color spill reduction. You can drag it up, but watch your color on your screen of your face. You don't want that to change any. but you want to drag it up as high as you can without that changing. If you drag it up too much, you're going to go straight black and white like this. You don't want to do that. So what you want to do is you want to keep your face color about the same as it is to start with, but bring it up as high as you can without that happening. And that'll kind of get rid of that little green glow around you, or whatever color you are using for your green screen. You don't have to use green for your chroma key. You can use any color you want. So we're going to leave it right here. I think that's about as clean as you're going to get your green screen. Now, if you look, you can move this wherever you want, and background's totally transparent. That is the number one thing I can tell you to do for your setup. Now let me move this window over here so I can see what's going on. Minimize that and go into the game. We're going to go into the game. I'm going to teach you to set up where your camera should be next, and that should be it for this video. It's going to be a nice and short video compared to yesterday. So let's go ahead and just resume a game. It doesn't matter. We're just going to go in, and this is a... No, I don't want to do tutorial. Let's go for the creative that I was working on in stream today. Once we get loaded in, I'll be back and I will show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so now I'm in my game. This is something you'll always want to do. You always want to load up your game in just a standard save situation and look at your screen when you're doing your overlay or your camera or any of that work, because that way you can see where it's going to be on screen. Now, what we're going to do here is we're just going to drag the camera over a little bit until we're in a space. Like right here is a good spot-ish. It's not a great spot for this game, but I do know this spot right here is empty in this game. So let's move it on over here. If you drag it over here, I recommend, if you don't want to have a little empty spot below your chest or whatever, then go and drag it all the way down and overlap a little bit. There you go. So you can move this anywhere on screen you want. So it's really according to the game you're playing, to where you want your camera, but you always want to move it to where there's nothing going on in game that you could be hiding, because that's kind of annoying when I watch people that play games and they're like hiding experience or anything like loot, anything like that. It's kind of annoying. I don't know if you find it annoying or not, but I actually like to move my camera around on a game by game basis. However, if you go for a professional overlay, then you can't always do that. So really you want to play it by ear on that. Okay, so now that we've got the camera placed, we've been over how to use the camera. We've been over the green screen, we've been on placement, camera selection, and what else was it? And camera sizing and cropping. So I think that's about everything I wanted to cover in this video. I'm not 100% sure yet what the next video is going to be on, but we will be getting one out within the next few days. So I will figure out what it is, and I will see you then. Have a good day.